It was graduation day, a day I had dreamed of since I was a little girl, a day for celebration, for family, for looking forward to the future. But as I walked across that stage, diploma in hand, I couldn't shake the bitter taste in my mouth. It wasn't the joy of accomplishment I felt, but the cold sting of years of disapproval and manipulation. And as my parents approached me after the ceremony, I knew the storm was far from over. I'll never forget the moment my father handed me that check. He thought money could solve everything. He thought it could buy my happiness, my obedience, my silence. But he was wrong. Dead wrong. Hi, I'm Megan, and this is the story of how my parents tried to control my life, how they tried to tear me away from the man I loved, and how I proved them all wrong. Let me know in the comments where you're listening from. I'd love to hear from you.
My story with James began like any other love story, full of laughter, late-night talks, and stolen kisses under the stars. He was everything I ever wanted in a partner. Kind, intelligent, and with a heart of gold. We met at a local coffee shop where he worked, his warm smile and genuine interest in my life instantly captivating me. But from the moment I introduced James to my parents, I knew we were in for a battle. My parents, particularly my mother, had always envisioned a different path for me. They wanted me to marry someone from a similar social circle, someone with wealth and prestige. James, a hard-working, honest man from a modest background, simply didn't fit their carefully constructed mold. He's nice, my mother had said with a tight smile after our first dinner together. But don't you think you could do better, dear? Someone with a little more ambition?
My father was less subtle. Megan, darling, be realistic. This boy isn't going to give you the life you deserve. You deserve someone who can provide for you, someone who can offer you stability. Their disapproval hung in the air like a thick fog, suffocating the joy I felt with James. But I was young and in love, and I naively believed that their objections would fade with time. I was wrong. Their disapproval didn't fade, it intensified, morphing into a calculated campaign to sabotage our relationship. The first incident was subtle, almost comical. We were having dinner at my parents' house, a carefully orchestrated affair designed to showcase their disapproval. My mother, in a seemingly accidental maneuver, managed to spill a glass of red wine all over James's new shirt. "Oh, darling, I'm so sorry," she exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with something that looked suspiciously like glee.
It was an accident, of course. James, ever the gentleman, brushed it off with a laugh. But I saw the look on my mother's face, the barely concealed triumph, and a chill ran down my spine. It was a declaration of war. The next tactic was more insidious. One day, a friend showed me a dating profile she had stumbled upon online. It was me. Or rather, it was a picture of me, accompanied by fabricated details and a suggestive bio. "What is this?" I demanded, my voice trembling with anger. My parents feigned innocence. "Oh, darling, how awful," my mother cried. "Someone must be trying to catfish you. We'll report it immediately." But I knew in my heart that they were behind it. They were trying to paint me as available, as desperate anything to drive a wedge between James and me. The criticism of James's career was relentless.
My father would constantly make snide remarks about his job, his lack of ambition, his unrealistic dreams. He would subtly plant seeds of doubt in my mind, questioning James' ability to provide for me in the future. "Megan, you deserve a man who can offer you security," he'd say, his voice dripping with concern. "James is a lovely boy, but is he really the kind of man you want to build a life with?" The final straw came one evening when James arrived at my apartment, his face pale and drawn. "Your father offered me money," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "He offered me $50,000 to break up with you. $50,000. It was a sum that could have changed our lives, a sum that could have given James a head start in his career. But he had refused. He had chosen me over money, love over convenience. Rage, hot and blinding, coursed through my veins.
This wasn't just disapproval anymore.
This was a deliberate, malicious attempt to control my life, to manipulate my choices, to destroy my happiness. I stormed over to my parents' house, the accusations bubbling on my tongue. "How could you?" I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "How could you be so cruel, so manipulative? You tried to bribe James to leave me? What kind of parents are you?" My mother's face remained impassive. "We're just looking out for your best interests, darling," she said, her voice calm and reasonable. "We don't want you to make a mistake you'll regret for the rest of your life." "A mistake?" I cried. "James is not a mistake. He's the best thing that's ever happened to me. And you're trying to destroy it because he doesn't meet your ridiculous standards." My father stepped forward, his face hardening. "Megan, you're being irrational. We're just trying to protect you. This boy's beneath you. You deserve better." "I don't need your protection," I shouted. "I don't need your money, your approval, your suffocating control. I'm an adult, and I can make my own decisions. And my decision is to be with James, no matter what you think." The silence that followed was thick and heavy, pregnant with unspoken words. Then my mother spoke, her voice cold and sharp. "Fine, Megan. If that's how you feel, then you're on your own. We're cutting you off. No more tuition, no more allowance, no more financial support of any kind." I stared at them, stunned. You're kicking me out?" "You've made your choice," my father said, his voice devoid of emotion. "Now you have to live with the consequences." And with that, they turned and walked away, leaving me standing on their doorstep, alone and adrift.
It was the scariest moment of my life, but it was also the most liberating. For the first time, I was truly free. Free from their expectations, free from their control, free to live my life on my own terms. The following months were the hardest of my life. James and I found a tiny, run-down apartment in a less than desirable neighborhood. We worked tirelessly, juggling multiple jobs to make ends meet. James worked double shifts at the coffee shop, and I picked up every babysitting and tutoring gig I could find. My parents' decision to cut me off meant I had to apply for financial aid and take out student loans to continue my studies. It was a constant struggle, a relentless cycle of work, study, and worry. But through it all, James was my rock. He supported me, encouraged me, and reminded me that we could get through anything as long as we had each other.
There were moments when I doubted myself, when I wondered if my parents were right. Maybe I was being foolish, clinging to a relationship that was doomed to fail. But then I would look at James, at his unwavering love and his unwavering belief in me, and I knew that I had made the right choice. Slowly, painstakingly, we began to build a life for ourselves. James was promoted to manager at the coffee shop, a well-deserved recognition of his hard work and dedication. I secured a stable job as a tutor at the university, providing me with a steady income and valuable experience. Eventually, we saved enough money to put a down payment on a small, cozy house. It wasn't much, but it was ours. It was a symbol of our independence, our resilience, our love. One afternoon, I decided to pay my parents a visit.
I wanted to show them what we had accomplished, to prove to them that we could make it on our own without their money or their approval. I walked into their pristine, perfectly decorated living room, feeling a surge of defiance. They looked surprised to see me, their faces betraying a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. "Megan," my mother said, her voice carefully neutral, "what brings you here?" "I wanted to show you something," I said, pulling out my phone and showing them pictures of our house. "This is our home. James and I bought it together. We worked hard for it, and we're proud of it." My parents exchanged a glance, their expressions unreadable. "It's nice," my mother said finally, "but it's not exactly the kind of house we envisioned for you." "That's the point," I said, my voice firm. "I didn't want the kind of house you envisioned for me. I wanted a house that I earned, a house that represents my values, my choices, my life. I went on to tell them about James's promotion, my job, our plans for the future. I emphasized that we had done it all without their help, that we had overcome their obstacles and built a life that was truly our own. I'm not here to ask for your approval, I said, my voice shaking with emotion. I'm here to show you that you were wrong. You were wrong about James. You were wrong about me. And you were wrong about what makes a person truly happy. My father opened his mouth to speak, but I cut him off. This isn't about the money, I said. It's not about the social status or the prestige. It's about control. It's about you trying to run my life, to dictate my choices, to mold me into someone I'm not. And I won't let you do it anymore. The silence that followed was deafening. My parents stared at me, their faces a mixture of anger, resentment, and perhaps a flicker of understanding. We just wanted what was best for you, Megan, my mother said finally, her voice softer than I had heard it in years. I know, I said, but sometimes what's best for someone is to let them make their own mistakes, to let them learn and grow and find their own happiness, even if it's not the happiness you envisioned for them. A few months later, graduation day arrived. As I walked across that stage, diploma in hand, I spotted my parents in the crowd. They looked stiff and uncomfortable, out of place in the sea of cheering students and proud families. After the ceremony, they approached me, their faces etched with a mixture of pride and regret. Congratulations, Megan, my father said, his voice surprisingly gentle.
We're proud of you. It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever received from them. But then my father pulled out a check made out to me for a substantial sum of money. We want to help you get started, he said, his eyes pleading. Use it to buy a nicer house, to invest in your future. But we still think you should reconsider your relationship with James. This money could give you a fresh start, a chance to find someone who is truly worthy of you. I looked at the check, at the promise of financial security, at the possibility of a life free from struggle. Then, I looked at James, standing a few feet away, his eyes filled with love and pride. And I knew what I had to do. Thank you, Dad, I said, handing the check back to him. But I don't need your money. I have everything I need right here. My parents' faces fell, their hopes dashed.
You're making a mistake, Megan, my mother said, her voice tight with disapproval. Maybe I am, I said, smiling. But it's my mistake to make. I turned and walked towards James, towards my future. Towards a life filled with love, laughter, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that I had stayed true to myself, no matter the cost. The tension between my parents and me remained for years. They never fully accepted James, and they never fully understood my choices. But over time, they learned to respect my independence, to acknowledge my accomplishments, and to accept that I was happy, even if it wasn't the happiness they had planned for me. James and I built a beautiful life together. We raised a family, pursued our careers, and supported each other through thick and thin.
We proved that love, hard work, and determination are more valuable than money, social status, or parental approval. And as I look back on my life, I realize that the greatest gift my parents ever gave me was not their money, but their disapproval. Because it was their disapproval that forced me to find my own path, to discover my own strength, and to build a life that was truly, authentically mine. A life that proved their expectations were wrong. Don't let anyone else dictate your life. Find your own path. And that's my story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel for more stories like this.